Covering the State House, lawmakers still trying to get to the bottom of a $3.5 billion accounting error. The state's top accountant admitted that mistake happened over a 10-year period.
Well, this afternoon, lawmakers gave an update into their investigation on this error. Fox County's Zach Perletsky standing by now with much more. Zach.
Well, Justin and Tori, the 5 members of the Senate Finance Constitutional Subcommittee have heard hours of testimony about this so far. Now, the chairman says there are still a lot more questions that have been left unanswered about how this happened and for so long. Comptroller General Richard Ekstrom says the state's accounting system was double counting money transferred to colleges and universities for a decade. An error that began after the state changed accounting systems. Now, that error means that the state was overstating how much money was in the cash reserves by $3.5 billion. Today, the subcommittee was given a new timeline, which revealed the Comptroller General first determined without a doubt the error existed on October 17, 2022. Now, the governor's office has previously said they were not made aware until November of any sort of error. Members of the subcommittee say staff members have been reluctant to provide them with information for their investigation. They also say that Ekstrom is giving them contradicting information. Chairman of the subcommittee, Senator Larry Grooms, questioned whether Ekstrom is still fit for the job.
Members, this is a very serious situation that we're dealing with. We're trying to uncover it. We're trying to get to the bottom of it. We're hearing that it's a mapping error and a coding error, but clearly the responsibility of this report lies with the state's Comptroller General.
Now, this error does not mean that the state was spending any money it does not have, but lawmakers are concerned about how it went undetected for those 10-plus years. Now, they also say that some legislation is based on how much money they believe the state has in its reserves. Now, the subcommittee will hear more testimony regarding this $3.5 billion error in just a couple of days on Thursday, while they will question the state treasurer's office, Department of Administration, and the state auditor. For now, reporting Zach Perletsky, Fox Carolina News.